Welcome back to Design Your Life. This video will serve as part 2 of the Design Your Life series. Today's learning objectives include learning more about design thinking and life design, experiencing life design exercises that are related to ideation, prototyping, and decision making, and learning how to use exercises and how to reach out to career services. Let's get started. As a quick reminder, design thinking includes curiosity, reframing beliefs, a bias toward action, self-awareness, and radical collaboration. Design is an opportunity to bring your priorities into focus. It allows your curiosity to run wild to discover new perspectives and prototype new life experiences. Through this interactive process, you're going to know yourself better, empathize assumptions, redefine problems, and ideate multiple solutions. Today, we're going to begin with Odyssey planning. Let's take the dysfunctional belief of, I need to figure out my best possible life, make a plan, and execute on it. In design thinking, we want to reframe this. To reframe this, we might say, there are multiple great lives and plans for me, and I get to choose which one to build my way forward. In life design, you're eliminating failure because you're constantly working towards something that will continue to build upon itself. It's a process, not just an outcome. So what is Odyssey planning? Odyssey planning is an activity where you get to create 3 alternative versions of the next 5 years of your life. We're going to get creative and use this as an opportunity to produce 3 very different versions of your life. Odyssey planning occurs before prototyping, which we will talk about in a little bit. Prototyping is the opportunity to test out components of the plans you've created to help you make informed decisions about your life, career, and beyond. So what makes a good Odyssey plan? It's a visual or graphical timeline. You have a creative title for each option. You have questions about these alternatives, usually 1 or 2. And you create a dashboard with gauges that are related to the resources needed for the plan, likeness of the plan, your confidence in the plan, and your overall coherence of the plan. Let's see what these alternatives may look like. Sample number 1 is what's called the Silicon Valley story. This is related to somebody who wants to start a career in Silicon Valley. In this case, you see year 0 to 1. They are mapping out components of the plan, such as finding a co-founder, they're signing up for a personal trainer to focus on their mental and physical health, and lastly, they're considering family. You may notice in each of these 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, and so on, the person is ideating not just their career, but also their life plans. This person references family, Hawaiian vacation, climbing Mount Whitney, going abroad, and keeping in mind their ability to stay healthy for their family. These Odyssey plans should include several aspects of your life over the course of the next 5 years. Of course, in this case, this person is building a life in Silicon Valley, creating a product beta testing, but also focusing on things that are related to their mental, physical health, which are running a half marathon, signing up for a personal trainer, etc. What else you may notice about these plans is that there are gauges. The gauges are related to resources. Resources are related to financial resources, physical resources, etc. In this plan, you'll see that their resources feel in the medium range. This might mean they're a little bit worried about finding a co-founder, finding funding, and other resources related to making this plan come to life. This might also mean resources to go on vacations, going abroad, hiring a personal trainer, etc. When you look at the I like it gauge, this focus is on how interested, excited, and motivated you are for the specific plan. Moving to the confidence gauge, this assesses your current confidence and how well you feel like you will execute the stages of this plan. In other words, do you feel confident to successfully move through the stages of this plan? Lastly, looking at the coherence gauge is focusing on how well we understand each stage of this plan. For example, do we understand how to find a co-founder? Do we understand how to raise money? Do we understand what it means to build a beta product, etc.? In this case, we're just gauging how we feel we understand the components of our plan. Then we create a 6-word title. And lastly, we create questions that we were going to address in this plan. In this case, it's, do I have what it takes? Is my idea good enough? And will I attract VC money? By asking questions, we were able to raise awareness around our concerns and hopefully in the future dispel any limiting beliefs. Let's quickly run through sample 2 and 3. For Plan 2, we're looking at using what I know and helping kids. This is a vastly different plan than the first. In the first plan, we're very focused on Silicon Valley and the tech industry. In this plan, we're focused on counseling and education and working with children. In this plan, we're also focused on continuing our education and thinking about vacations as well. But as you can see, the vacations are different and some of the goals are different. In this plan, we are still filling out the gauges, resources, your likeness of the plan, your confidence, and your coherence. In sample number 3, we're thinking about opening up a bar, which is obviously very different from Plan 1 and Plan 2. By looking at 3 very different approaches, we are able to plan and design lives that are vastly different, which will open up our mind to new ideas and new possibilities. Then before we actually execute on one of the plans, we will have to test some things out. At the end of the day, creating your own Odyssey plans allow you to challenge your narrow mind and think about a multitude of possibilities. I encourage you to scan the QR code so you can create your own Odyssey plans. Once an Odyssey plan is created, we move to the prototyping stage. What is a prototype? Let's use an analogy for a moment. We have a lemon. Now what? There may be many options, including making lemonade, making a lemon pie, cutting up the lemon and using it for tea, creating lotion out of the lemon base, and so many others. But how do we decide what we want to do? We prototype. A prototype is designed to reduce risk, expose assumptions, and engage others. Remember, a prototype must be cheap, quick, and easy. This is why an internship isn't necessarily a prototype. Instead, it would be reading a book about the subject, interviewing a professional who holds a job that you want to explore, watching YouTube videos about the topic at hand, completing a micro-internship or a short-term project, and just taking a bite-sized piece of the experience and dabbling. So how does one prototype? 2 primary examples are through conversations and lived experiences. We're going to use our Odyssey plans and look at the things we have questions about. For example, in the first plan, around building life in Silicon Valley, we might watch a YouTube video of a startup founder who is describing their journey of creating their startup. We may also interview a startup founder directly. In another plan, we could interview a graduate student so we can better understand what it's like to go through a graduate program in counseling. Quick, easy, and cheap experiences are what we consider prototypes. And if a prototype doesn't work, we prototype again. In the case of the lemon, we may interview a baker, but also shadow a child in the neighborhood who has a lemonade stand. This allows us to get more information and expose any assumptions that we have about the options. Another example of a prototype is life design interviews, asking people how they got to where they are and understand what it's like in the field, or understanding what a typical day-to-day looks like. Design is a process. It's not an outcome. It's mapping out potential options through Odyssey plans and using prototypes to test them out. Once we go through some of these stages, it's helpful to use design thinking to make decisions. Let's look at a decision matrix. A decision matrix is designed to help you map out your options and make decisions based on a bigger picture. Scan the QR code to access a decision matrix example. You may make a copy of this Google spreadsheet so you can create your own. Let's walk through one together. In this specific case, we're looking at the choice of where should I move and post-graduation. We're looking at moving back home to Reno, staying in Las Vegas, going to New York City, or going to San Francisco. We're reviewing these based on objectives. The objectives are factors that impact the choice. In this case, we're looking at cost, interest or likeness, job opportunities, community, and alignment with values. You're using a numeric system with a 0 being the weakest and 10 being the strongest. For each factor, we're looking at a high score for things that would cost the least and a low score for things that would cost the most for interest. We're looking at a high score for how positively interested we are in the plan and a low score for something that has less interest. Job opportunities, a high score would show more career opportunities, where a low score would be less job opportunities. With community, a high score would include a space where there's already a good sense of community, And a low score might be a low sense of community right now. This doesn't necessarily track the potential of building a community, rather, it just focuses on the current community in each place. And lastly, alignment with values. This high score would be a place where my personal values align with the culture of the city, whereas a low score would be the culture of the city that is not aligned with values. You listed out your objectives and you listed out your options. As mentioned, in this case, it's back home to Reno, stay in Las Vegas, go to New York City, go to San Francisco. You fill in with a number for each box, and at the end, you get a total score for each choice. In this case, the total is not currently weighted, but you could weigh your options. By completing this decision matrix, the person will see their top options. In this case, the top two choices are to stay in Las Vegas or to go to San Francisco. By visualizing the decision and creating more options, you are able to expose some assumptions and make the best possible decision for you. If you feel more comfortable, we encourage you to visit Career Services to complete a decision matrix. Maybe you're at a place where you're trying to make a big decision related to your design or career goals, and you need some help. We are here for you. Remember, in these stages of life design, you're going to start where you are, be willing to have a lemon problem, know you are not alone, and use life design to build a life you want to live. Come visit Career Services to take your design to the next level. Thanks. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of our videos if you want to explore other topics related to your career search. If you're a UNLV student or alum and you'd like to contact us to get individualized help, send us an email or give us a call and we'll connect you to a career specialist. You can also scan this QR code for access to more of our career-related resources. Thanks.